Thank you to everybody that's tuned in this morning to listen. Your time is very much appreciated. This is the usual cautionary and forward-looking statement for everybody's information. To introduce those of you to Amarc who aren't quite sure who the company is, we're a junior exploration and development company, and our sole focus is on developing a new generation of high-value copper mines in British Columbia. British Columbia, as many of you may know, is the heartland of copper production in Canada. Our team over the last while has assembled and developed a pretty unique portfolio of copper assets. These are big districts, and they are known as the JOY, the Duke, and the Ike. These districts, they're 100% owned. They're very expansive in terms of their mineral tenure. They're all located proximal to infrastructure, and there is nothing value destructive associated with these districts in terms of royalties. Notably, each of these districts is actually focused on a known copper deposit or two copper deposits in the case of Ike. And behind those copper deposits, which we're currently delineating or working towards delineating, is a pipeline of deposit scale targets, which we've started assessing. What this gives the shareholder and indeed our transaction partners is tremendous optionality, both at the corporate level and also at the district level. As many of us know, porphyry copper deposits are the primary source of copper globally, with the porphyry copper gold deposits typically returning the highest metal value per ton of this deposit group. And what this means is this group of deposits is highly sought after, not just by the copper companies, but by the gold companies. And point in case in British Columbia, the last acquisition that was made of a large porphyry copper gold deposit was Newmont's acquisition of GT Gold for the Tatoga deposit a couple of years ago in northern British Columbia. And this was for about just north of 350 million Canadian. In terms of Amarc, we have brought Freeport in at JOY and the Swedish mining company Boliden in at Duke. Each of these companies can earn a 70% interest in each district by making staged investments of 110 and 90 million respectively. Together, and this is important, we now have access on these projects to up to $200 million of non-share dilutive financing. We signed the deal with Freeport at JOY back in 2021, and subsequent to that date, Freeport have provided $20 million of exploration funding, and our planning for our 2023 season is well underway. In the last couple of seasons, we've drilled with Freeport on the project just under 20,000 meters of drilling and 46 drill holes, and completed some very extensive district-wide surface surveys. All of this work is really beginning to indicate on this project the high potential for multiple deposits, which is within a very significant developing district. Just before the last King Conference, when I spoke on November 21st in 2022, we signed the deal with Boliden, and we're advancing that project, and we have $10 million worth of financing under that agreement through to the end of 2023. No sooner than the ink was dry on that agreement, at the end of November, we were mobilized to the field, and we've been concentrating on drill delineation of the Duke deposit and expanding that deposit. We were out there before Christmas with one drill rig, got 2 holes completed. We were back out drilling with 2 drill rigs by the end of January. We brought a 3rd drill rig in February, and that program has been progressing very well. As we get the results from that program, we will be releasing them. We are deep into planning at the moment with our partners Boliden in terms of our summer program, which is going to involve surface programs to explore multiple deposit targets. We've also got our very large and extremely exciting Ike district located in southern BC. It is host to both bulk tonnage porphyry copper potential and higher grade copper gold replacement type mineralization, and we're looking at ways to advance the Ike. So the intrinsic value of our portfolio is, of course, resides in the geological attributes of our district, but it also resides in the strength of the team. This team has found and developed, particularly with our association with Hunter Dickinson, a number of copper and gold assets in British Columbia and indeed globally. But just looking at this slide, and this shows some of our legacy projects and companies. In terms of Milligan, which the Hunter Dickinson Group developed, that was sold to Placidome for $250 million. In a similar manner, the Kemess South Mine was sold on, went into production with Northgate, and it still stands as the third largest copper producer as of today in the province. In addition, our executive chair, Bob Dickinson, he had the foresight to found the Taseko Mines Company, and their main asset is the 85,000 ton per day Gibraltar copper mine located in southern BC, and that is the second largest copper producer in Canada, and so on. This shows you some of the primary members of the team. And a number of our team have been recognized for their copper and gold successes, both in BC and globally, and have been inducted into the Mining Hall of Fame and received many other awards. But what this all does for Amarc is all this experience, and importantly, these transaction successes are now focused into developing Amarc's portfolio of copper gold districts. This gives us a tremendous jurisdictional advantage and is layered on top of British Columbia as a jurisdiction being a politically stable jurisdiction, having good infrastructure in areas of our districts and our plays and operations. It has a great labor workforce, a very skilled one, and access, very importantly, to comparatively well-priced and clean energy. So a great place to be operating in British Columbia. So this next slide is, we're going to start with the JOY district located up in northern British Columbia. We're in southern northern British Columbia in JOY. And the point I want to really talk about a little here is, in the past, British Columbia has been recognized only as being able to produce or housing or hosting moderate grade porphyry copper plays, but that has been changing in recent years. You can see at the top left-hand side of this the screen where we've got a yellow star with red kris. This is an area we call the Golden Triangle, and the Golden Triangle has a number of world-class deposits that are hosted by 200-million-year-old rocks. These are, for example, the Red Kris mine, which is owned and operated by the Australian mining company Newcrest, and also the world-class Galore deposit. It has reserves of about 500 million tons at 0.6% copper and 0.32 grams per ton gold. And these rocks that we're talking about, these 200-million-year-old rocks, which host some of these world-class deposits in British Columbia, they actually wrap round in a manner very schematically shown by this blue arrow, and they pass down through our JOY district and indeed through the Kemess mining district held by Centerra, which is adjacent to the south of JOY, where the Kemess South deposit is located, and as I previously mentioned. To give you an idea of what JOY looks like, this is one of our young geologists looking out over part of the project area. These are very big districts. You can see in the mid-ground an area of flat to gently undulating ground. This is about 5 to 6 kilometers across, to give you an idea of scale, and it is flanked to both the north and the south by somewhat higher moderate topography. In the center there, you can see a red circle. It is labeled Pine. This is where the Pine deposit is located, on which the JOY district is anchored. You can also see Canyon labeled in red there. And this is where we made the porphyry copper gold mineralization discovery with our partners Freeport this year, which we're very excited about, and can't wait to get back onto the ground and further explore. And some of the other target areas are labeled there for you in yellow. On this slide, we have our tenure, our extensive mineral tenure. And what we are representing here is what we call IP chargeability. Induced polarization chargeability surveys, these are used globally very successfully in porphyry exploration. What they actually show in the hotter colors here, and for the geologists on the listening in today, we're defining our targets based on 14 millivolts per volt. And what they show us, these hotter areas are, in general, in porphyry exploration, are sulfide systems. But they are not all created equally, these sulfide systems, and they're not all pregnant with copper. We know several of ours are. These surveys are cumulative surveys of 350 line kilometers done by ourselves and a former proponent of the area, Goldfields. And where we're going to concentrate today, just in the name of time, is on a central trend. It's 15.5 kilometers long. We call it the Pine Trend. And this trend stretches from the northeast through the Pine target, down to the Canyon target, down to the Twins target, and to the Southwest Tackler target in the southeast. This is a cross section through that trend, and those hot colors you saw on the last slide are now represented in the subsurface environment in the pink colors here. And we know these systems are pregnant with copper. The Pine target area is in fact a 6 square kilometer ore forming system in which the Pine deposit is located. We are currently working on drill delineating this deposit with our partners Freeport, and we are hoping to advance it over time to a resource. We move down along the belt to the Canyon target. Now this is a covered target, and what we mean by that is there's very little geology or outcrop or rocks for the geologists to look at. The nature of the cover means that all the geochemical survey responses are very muted and of limited use. So this is mainly a geophysical target, an IP and a mag. We went in there and drilled blind in 2021 with Freeport. We drilled 2 holes. One of them was a bust, but one of them hit, which gets exploration geologists like myself excited, some intervals around the grade of cutoff grade of deposits that are being mined in BC at the current time. And those are porphyry deposits, so around about 0.15% copper equivalent. We went back in there with Freeport this year, and one of our holes actually discovered some very good grade copper, gold, porphyry style mineralization. This is a complete discovery. We need to get back in there and do further work and further drilling. We move down the belt towards Twins. This is a 7 square kilometer target. We're at the point at Twins that we were at Canyon in 2021. We've got some scout drilling into it, and we're beginning to get signs that there may well be a productive porphyry system somewhere in this target area. We've got to vector in towards it, and we've got to get back out there and drill. But we know there's copper at the Twins target. We move down through the belt to Southwest Tackler, which, to be honest, folks, is a bit of an enigma at the moment in terms of a target, and we're currently considering the information we've received from that target. But to home in on the Pine deposit, where we have put 14 drill holes in with our partners Freeport in 2021, 2022. From historical drilling, we knew there was a deposit here over 6 by 900 meters. We knew it was open laterally, internally, and to depth. And the drilling that we have done with Freeport have proved extensions to depth, and we've opened it up internally, but very, very importantly, we've expanded the deposit laterally from about 900 meters to 1.7 kilometers, and it's within a mineralized trend of 2.6 kilometers. Below this cross section, you can actually see some of the intercepts that we have here. They are in copper equivalent for ease in this presentation. But I will say that, and note for everybody listening in, that our copper equivalents are not calculated on 100% recoveries, but they're based on realistic recoveries from operating mines and advanced stage development projects in British Columbia. And that's in terms of porphyry deposits. So we are beginning to snag onto higher grade areas within the Pine deposit, and they are returning things like 0.56% copper equivalent over 100 meters or so, 0.42% copper equivalent over 204 meters. A lot more work to be done here to delineate this growing deposit, and we hope to be heading towards a resource with our partners on this at the appropriate time. Just the last slide on JOY. This is our porphyry copper gold discovery at the Canyon target. I'm not going to talk too much about it today, other than to note that the hole 30, which was our discovery drill hole, returned 296 meters of just shy of 0.4% copper equivalent, including 96 meters of 0.51% copper equivalent. I also just want to give a shout out to Mark Rabagliati, one of our advisors, technical advisors at Amarc, and he will be speaking more to this discovery in the Kamloops Exploration Conference next week. So if you're going to that conference, please pop along and hear Mark's talk. So moving on to our next district, there's going to be news flow, lots of news flow coming out of our JOY project this year. We are planning currently, as I said before, planning our field season, our 2023 field season with our partners Freeport. But moving on to Duke, the Duke has extensive tenure as well. What we show here is just the location of the Duke deposit, which is located in the central part of that tenure, and it is the deposit on which this district is hinged. This area is one of the most prolific porphyry copper gold districts. It's known as the Babine region in British Columbia, and it is host to the old Bell and Grand Isle mines of Noranda. Bell still has about 400 million tons in the base of the pit at 0.4% copper, 0.2 grams per ton gold. It also hosts the Morrison deposit. Excellent infrastructure in this area, which is shown on the next slide. We're zooming into the area of the Duke deposit. The Duke deposit and its potential expansion is shown by this red line. This is an IP chargeability anomaly outlining about 4.7 square kilometers of potential. You can see this area is flat to gently undulating, lots of access from forestry roads, there's lots of clear cuts. The yellow dots are concentrated towards the southern end of our target area. These were holes that were put in 1971. They were all short. They were on average 90 meters. 80% of them ended in good grade mineralization, such as 100 meters at 0.47% copper equivalent, only being analyzed for copper and moly and not for precious metals. We went in there before Boliden joined us, and we drilled 7 drill holes in those blue dots into this area. We expanded that deposit down to depths of 360 meters vertical and over about 6 by 400 meters. Like all true geologists, we then ran the drill rig up the road. This is a covered area, and we put that whole floor 4 down that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, and we hit there again, and it was telling us that the whole of this anomaly is ripe to be drilled off for expanding the Duke deposit. So we have been in there again, as I said, we've been drilling with Boliden since early December, sorry, and we're still out there. We're coming to the end of this drill phase with Boliden as breakup is about to happen. But this is a cross section through our 2 initial drill holes into the Duke deposit area with Boliden. These were the 2 vertical drill holes labeled 9 and 10 that you can see here that were drilled in December. We have released these results. Both of these drill holes returned in the range of 550 meters at about 0.33 to 0.43% copper equivalent over their entire lengths. But they did actually include very good intervals of over 100 meters to 200 meters of in the range of 0.45 to 0.52% copper equivalent. These were the 2 best holes pulled out of these deposits. Ourselves and Boliden were very excited about these results, and on the basis of these results chose to ramp up the drill program and bring in more drill rigs. As the results are received from the lab, these will be released to our shareholders. Just to take a step out, just quickly, our tenure here is very extensive. It's almost 700 square kilometers. You can see where Duke is located on that red star towards the center of the tenure. We have a number of targets to go out and assess with ground surveys with Boliden this summer. And that planning is well underway and will commence once we finished with breakup. So lots of great news flow also to come from the JOY district. And just briefly here, I really do want to talk about the Ike district. We're very enthusiastic about this district, and we very much want to get out here to work this year, and we're looking at ways, mechanisms to finance our work out here this summer. Now, Ike is located in central British Columbia, which is the heartland of copper production in the entirety of Canada, not just the province. And you can see on the left-hand side of this slide, we've got two red stars, Empress and Ike. These are the two copper deposits on which this district is anchored. Just in terms of infrastructure, because I keep repeating that we're in close proximity to infrastructure, just to the east-southeast of those two red stars, you can see a pink line. That is in fact a BC Hydro scheme that produces 6% of BC Hydro's output in the province. And that is located only 30 kilometers from our tenure boundary. So great in terms of infrastructure. Now, this is a picture of where we are. It's a Google Earth image showing you the topography. We're on the eastern edge of what's known geologically in the province as the Cretaceous Coastal Plutonic Complex. In the foreground, you can see our 6 square kilometer Ike ore forming system as outlined by IP in the red and MAG in the yellow. We have put 26 long, about 800 meter holes into this target and have made a discovery. You can see those drill holes are the black dots, which are clustered on the western side. We have intercepted a very healthy copper, moly, silver grade here, over 1.2 by 1 kilometers by 700 meters of vertical extent, and it is open. The best hole there was hole 13. From surface, it was 600 meters at 0.44% copper equivalent. We want to get out there and continue drilling, get the deposit up into a resource status and do a preliminary economic study. But before we go there, we want to actually start on the Empress East, Empress area, about 5 kilometers to the north. This is where we've got higher grade copper, gold, replacement style mineralization. That mineralization is driven by emerging copper porphyries, which do have a gold component as well as silver and moly. When we talk about higher grade, this is what we're talking about. This is all historical drilling. We are talking about things like 70 to 80 meter intercepts of almost 1% copper in the range of 1.5 grams of gold with moly and with silver. And what this is giving us is copper equivalents in the range of 2% copper equivalent. We're very excited to be out there, and just very briefly, this is a cross section through the main area of interest, although it sits within a prospective area of 15 kilometers of strike length. You can see the old Empress deposit, which is open laterally. You can see 1 kilometer away to the east, the Empress East deposit. It is under-drilled, and there is a gap in the middle where old percussion holes of Sumitomo, they're about 40 meters depth, are beginning to tickle that great grade that we're seeing in Empress and Empress East, and they're telling us to drill deeper. So we're looking at financing mechanisms for Ike. So in terms of a summary, we have a great team who've completed many successful transactions to the benefit of our shareholders. We believe we're in a premier jurisdiction. We have a great portfolio of assets in JOY, Duke, and Ike. We have Boliden and Freeport providing up to $200 million of non-share dilutive financing. There's going to be great news flow, and there's more to come. And thank you very much for listening in. This is a quick talk. And myself, my executive chair, Bob Dickinson, and everybody at Kin, we're always standing by to take your calls, and would appreciate speaking to you in more detail. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Diane. That was quite the overview of Amarc. We do have probably time for just one quick question. I'd like to ask, on the Duke project, the partnership that Amarc has with Boliden, really that's actually the only one that Boliden has in North America. Can you tell us a bit more about what you think attracted them to the project and to work with Amarc?
Thank you, Peter, for the question. That's a very good question. Boliden are a premier European mining company. They're an exploration, mining and smelter company. They have operated in North America as well as Chile in the past, over on this side of the Atlantic. They withdrew a number of years ago. They were involved in Myra Falls in Vancouver Island and also in the Gibraltar mine. It's a small world that's now in the Taseko Mining Company. They were looking to expand back into North America. British Columbia is somewhere where they're very comfortable operating, and they were looking for a very credible exploration team that they could work with, and a good project. And the Boliden and the Duke project, in terms of the Duke deposit and its potential throughout the tenure, really appealed to them. And they're being excellent partners to work with, Peter. As I said, we're just finishing up here our drill program ahead of breakup on the Duke deposit delineation, and very much looking forward to getting back on the ground, boots on the ground this summer with the Boliden team to assess our portfolio of targets throughout the tenure.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Diane. We really appreciate this good overview of Amarc. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. We're going to move on in the just next minute or so to our next presenting company. And once again, thank you, Diane, for that.
Thank you very much, Peter. And thank you to Kin for organizing the conference. Have a good day, everybody.